What if I told you that Ferrari has finally solved its biggest weakness, and that what they are going to bring to Miami could completely change the performance of the SF-26? Because we are not talking about a simple improvement. What has leaked about the new front wing is so great that within the paddock they already see it as the beginning of a new technical war. The question is, are we facing the movement that can return Ferrari to the front? Or is it a risk that can change everything for the worse? Ferrari does not arrive in Miami as just another team on the grid. It arrives with accumulated pressure, with doubts that it has carried since the beginning of the SF-26 project, and above all, with a weakness that has conditioned absolutely all of its performance until now. Because although from the outside they talked about balance, evolution and progress, internally they knew that there was one piece that was not at the level of the rest: the front wing. This detail is not minor, much less technical, with no real impact. In today's Formula One, the front wing is the starting point for all the aerodynamic behavior of the car. It is responsible for deciding how the air enters, how it is channeled, and how it is delivered to the rest of the critical surfaces such as the flat bottom or the pontoons. And this is where Ferrari was losing the battle without many noticing. While other teams had already taken aggressive steps in this area, the SF-26 maintained a too conservative concept, with a flat, limited design and without the necessary sophistication to compete at the highest level. This caused a chain effect. It wasn't just a lack of front load, it was a car that couldn't clean the air correctly, generating turbulence that directly affected overall performance. Less flow efficiency meant less bottom-line performance, more drag on the straight, and inconsistent behavior in fast corners. That is, a structural problem disguised as small deficits in different areas. And most critical of all, Ferrari was fully aware of this limitation. During the pre-season, the team tested more than 50 different configurations of the front wing looking for a real solution, which makes it clear that they were not facing a simple adjustment, but rather a deep problem that they could not easily solve. Each attempt was a clue, each change a sign that the base concept was not working as it should. That's why Miami is not just any update. What we will see in this Grand Prix is not a progressive evolution. It is the result of accumulated weeks of work, failed tests, hidden micro-adjustments and decisions that Ferrari has been delaying until it has a complete solution. In fact, context plays a key role, because the cancellation of other appointments allowed the team to accumulate improvements and bring them all together, creating what they internally describe as a package and a half. And within that whole package, the new front spoiler is the centerpiece. Because it is not just about improving performance in a specific area, but about correcting the source of the problem. Ferrari is looking to remake the way the car manages air from the first point of contact, something that could completely transform the balance of the SF-26. If they achieve this, they will not only gain performance, they will unlock potential that until now has been limited by an incomplete aerodynamic foundation. The big question left by this first act is clear. Does this solution arrive in time to change Ferrari's course? Or are we facing a desperate attempt to correct something that was wrong from the beginning? Now, understanding the magnitude of this improvement requires going one step further, because the new front wing of the SF-26 does not work in isolation. It is the piece that connects the entire aerodynamic concept of the car, and this is where Ferrari is really playing the season. What has been leaked points to a profound change in design philosophy. We are no longer faced with a spoiler that simply generates load, but rather with a tool designed to control the airflow with surgical precision from the first millimeter. This means redirecting the air more cleanly around the nose, avoiding unnecessary turbulence, and above all, feeding the critical areas of the car such as the flat bottom and side pods much more efficiently. And here appears the key point that many overlook. When a team manages to improve the quality of the airflow from the front wing, it not only gains stability, it gains performance throughout the entire car. The bottom works better, the downforce is more consistent, the car slides less in corners, and most importantly, reduces drag on the straight. This is exactly where Ferrari was losing out to its direct rivals, especially compared to more efficient cars. But the truly explosive thing about this situation is how this new wing fits with the rest of the SF-26. Because Ferrari already has extremely aggressive solutions in other areas, such as that revolutionary rear concept that has generated so much noise within the paddock. However, all that potential was partially limited by a front base that wasn't up to par. It's like having a very advanced weapon, but without being able to aim it correctly. Now, with this redesign, Ferrari seeks to align all the pieces of the puzzle so that they work together. This completely changes the scenario. If the new front wing manages to do its job, the SF-26 could become a much more balanced, more predictable, and above all, more efficient car on all types of circuit. It would no longer depend solely on specific configurations or specific conditions, but would have a solid foundation on which to evolve during the rest of the season. And there is another detail that further reinforces this theory. Ferrari has not arrived at this solution improvisedly. The small modifications we saw in previous races were not a coincidence, they were calculated steps, covert tests to prepare for this big change. Each micro adjustment was a piece of the puzzle, a validation before introducing the final version in Miami. This leaves us with an extremely interesting situation. Because if all this works as expected, Ferrari will not only improve, it could make a qualitative leap that directly alters the competitive order. But there is also the other side of the coin. Because when you change an element as critical as the front wing, you are also modifying the entire behavior of the car. Balance, cornering response, tire management. Everything can be affected. And if something doesn't fit perfectly, the effect may be the opposite of what was expected. So the tension is maximum. Ferrari arrives in Miami with a car that can change everything, but also with the risk of having bet too big on a single play. And this is where everything explodes. Because Miami is not going to be simply the introduction of an improvement, it is going to be the moment in which we will know if Ferrari has finally found the key, or if it has been pursuing a solution that it never fully understood. Because if this new front wing works as expected, the impact will not be progressive, it will be immediate. Ferrari could go from being a car with structural limitations to becoming a completely optimized machine, where each piece begins to work in harmony. The flow of clean air from the front correctly feeding the flat bottom, reducing drag on the straight and stabilizing the car in curves. That is not an improvement of tenths, that is a change of category within the grid. And this is what makes Miami a breaking point. Because from here on, there will be no excuses. Ferrari has concentrated weeks of development, has tested dozens of configurations, has prepared the ground with micro adjustments, and now puts its most important card on the table. This front wing is not an evolution. It is a definitive answer to its greatest weakness. If it works, the message will be clear to all of Formula One. Ferrari is back in the real fight, not as an occasional contender, but as a solid contender capable of standing up to any circuit. And that would completely change the narrative of the championship because it would force the rest of the teams to react, accelerate their developments, and in some cases rethink their own concepts. But if it fails, the blow can be very hard. Because when you redesign such a critical part, there is no room for small errors. If the flow does not behave as expected, if the balance of the car is broken, or if the correlation between data and track does not match, Ferrari could find itself with a car even more unpredictable than before. And on such a tight grid, that means losing ground immediately. And here is the real tension of this story. Ferrari is not only introducing an improvement, it is betting its technical direction on a single move. He is saying, this is the right way, and Miami will be the first real verdict. So when the cars hit the track, we won't be watching just one more race. We will be seeing if this bomb is the beginning of a historic comeback, or the beginning of a new problem that no one saw coming. What Ferrari puts on the table in Miami is not simply another update on the calendar. It is a direct declaration of intentions. The new front wing of the SF-26 represents the clearest attempt to correct a problem that had been conditioning the entire performance of the car for some time, a silent weakness that affected every area without many realizing it in its entirety. After dozens of tests, configurations, and accumulated adjustments, Ferrari has decided to bet big, concentrating on this moment all the work they have been building since the beginning of the season. And that completely changes the context because we are no longer talking about evolution. We are talking about a possible transformation. If this concept works, we will not only see a faster Ferrari, we will see a different Ferrari. A car capable of taking advantage of its full potential, of competing with greater consistency, and of truly positioning itself in the direct fight with the best. It would, without a doubt, be the starting point of a new stage within the championship. But if you don't, it will then become evident that the problem was deeper than it seemed, and that not even such an aggressive solution has been enough to correct it. Therefore, Miami is not just a race. It is the moment in which Ferrari examines itself, and in which the entire Formula One will discover if this technical bomb was the missing key, or simply a bet that was too risky. If you want, the next step is to expand the first block with much more technical detail and deeper analysis without repeating information. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.